Presumably, your advice would be to avoid young white men because they perpetrate these massacres. But it won't be because they're white, right?
So are you playing dumb or are you actually dumb?
Maybe
it's
I'm
about
dumb.
proportionality.
Maybe I'm dumb.
You are.
That was Nick Fuentes just absolutely making fun of Piers Morgan. He's like, are you playing dumb or are you actually dumb? Because Piers is trying to play this whole thing where he doesn't understand per capita. Maybe he doesn't. Honestly, so many people don't understand simple math and per capita, and it makes them look really stupid. And Piers looked really dumb here. No matter how you play it, if he was playing dumb, he did it in such an awful way that he really looked dumb. And if he wasn't playing dumb, he already looked dumb in and of itself. So it's like, man, you look stupid, Piers. And that's what Nick said, because he kept trying to bring up the per capita. He said, look, we need to, he's talking about black crime versus white crime, proportionality. And Piers does not understand per capita. He does not understand percentages. So we're going to dive into it a little bit. I may even break it down in super simple terms if you don't understand it. We're going to watch the whole clip. But if you like this content, I'm Jared Wright. This is the Right Wing. We watch these clips every single day. We dive into them. We react to them. We try to figure out what's going on in the world, what's being said, what are the funny things, what are the serious things, what is the news. You deserve to know it. You deserve to have it easy to find. That is this page. So hit the buttons down below. I really do appreciate it. And let's just dive into this clip right now.
I think they're bad.
Who do you think commits the vast majority of the mass shootings?
I'm sure it's white people.
Right. So how do you feel about that?
I think that white people do more antisocial violence. I think black people participate in more gang violence. I think that's the difference.
What's the difference to the victims?
There's no difference to the victim, but it's a different kind of crime. And it's a different proportion also. Do you know what percentage of white people are school shooters?
I know that the vast majority of mass shootings in schools in America this century were perpetrated by young white men. And I'm
what proportion of what proportion?
I'm curious.
What proportion?
I'm curious whether your advice would be to people who have kids in these schools.
Is my mic working?
Should they?
Is my mic working? That was one of the best clips the whole time. Is my mic working? But Piers is trying to skirt around this question. He says, well, look, the majority of school shootings are white people, the ones perpetrating it. And Nick says, but what proportion of white people commit violent crime? That's the question he's asking. He said, no, it's the other way around is what we need to figure out. Not what proportion of this crime are white people, what proportion of white people do this crime. Because that's a very important fact. Because just because more do it, it depends on proportionality to the group of people, right? If there's 100 white people and 2 people do a crime, okay, so 2%. But let's say at the same time, there's also 2 black people in the population and one of them commits a crime. So what is more and what is less? 1 out of 2 or 2 out of 100? Yeah, you can make 2 out of 100 seem like more, but 1 out of 2 is proportionally worse. And that's what Nick is making the case for, or at least attempting to, while Piers ignores him to where he's like, is my mic working? Is it working? Clicking on it. And that was a small sample size example that I'm giving you. But now imagine blowing this up across, 350 million people, and then you talk about it. That's what they're trying to do here, just so you have a little bit of a background.
What proportion?
Should they avoid white people at school? Should people with the kids at school avoid young white men at school?
No.
Okay.
Do you know what per capita means? Do you know proportionality? There are more black people proportionally that engage in violent crime or are involved in gangs, especially in these major cities, than there are white people that are school shooters compared to the entire white population. And everybody understands that.
Two-thirds of mass shootings at school perpetrated by white people.
But what proportion of white men commit school shootings? That's the question.
I've just told you. It's 60 to 65% of school shootings by white people.
You're telling me what proportion of school shootings are committed by white people. I'm saying what proportion of white people have committed school shootings. Are you playing dumb or are you just not that smart?
What difference does that make to the children lying dead on the ground?
See, now you want to jump on the victims. The difference is you're asking, would you fear white people or black people? And that's the difference.
No,
The difference
I'm
is in
not. What I'm
terms
saying
of
to you is, by
probability.
your logic, if we now have agreed that the vast majority of mass shootings in schools are committed by white people and predominantly young white men, then presumably your advice would be to avoid young white men because they perpetrate these massacres. But it won't be because they're white, right?
So are you playing dumb or are you actually dumb?
Maybe
it's
I'm
about
dumb.
proportionality.
Maybe I'm dumb.
You are because you're, well, I don't think you are dumb. I think you're smart actually, but you're deliberately avoiding per capita. And everybody knows that's the difference. What proportion of white men are school shooters? It's probably 0.00001%. What proportion of black men have committed violent crimes? It's probably like 5%. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but it's very high. And I would add to that, even as it concerns schools, why do you think parents pay a super high property tax to live in a school district where there's white people? Because they know that if they go to the black school, it's going to be the Bloods and the Crips. It's going to be gangs. It's going to be, you talk about school shootings. Nobody talks about all the school shootings that are committed by gangbangers in and around the school and all the other violence that's associated with that. I mean, these schools in the south side of Chicago, it's just not livable.
I have an answer for you, Nick. So the proportion of the population who carry out mass shootings is actually the same for black and white.
For white people, the proportion of
the proportion
again,
of the population.
are you hearing it?
We're just going to stop it right there. They kind of continue on for a couple minutes. And by the way, that statistic was proven false. It was complete. I don't know where he got this statistic from. It's like he just pulled it right out of his butt cheeks and said, here you go. No, it's not true. The proportion of violent crime is nowhere near close when it comes to these races. The proportion of even the school shootings. I don't know where he pulled these statistics from. The issue is not. I mean, the issue is that there are shootings happening, but we have to dive into proportionality of why is one particular race way more violent than another? And there are underlying factors, I believe. I think there's a lot of societal issues. I think there's a lot of things when it comes to financial things, when it comes to fathers in the home. That's incredibly important. And people like to ignore that out completely. But Nick just makes such a good point. And he runs circles around Piers in this whole interview, this section particularly, because he's like, dude, do you not understand the simple math of this? Can you not comprehend what is happening? It's so easy. It's so simple, Piers. What's the deal? Why will you not just say, hey, you know what? Black men proportionally are more violent than white men. That is a fact. There is no theory to that. There is no issue to that. There is no anything. That is the truth. Why don't you admit it? And what does Piers do? He says, well, what's the difference to the victims? He immediately goes to the emotional. Like, let me try to pull on some heartstrings here. That's the issue. If we cannot just say, hey, you know what? Black men are more violent than white men. Why can we not say that? Why is that racist, Piers? Why is that an issue? If we could address that issue and actually state it first, maybe we can see some real change. But you can't change it if you're not even willing to admit that that's a real problem. You know what's also a problem? Even black women for forever have been more violent than white men. Black women are more violent than white men proportionally. That's insane. That's unheard of. Because usually men are the violent ones. But the black women commit more violent crime than white men do. So obviously there's something to this race problem that we need to address and figure out and sort out, change the culture, put fathers back in the home, get drugs out, completely eradicate the gang culture. There are things that need to be done, but we need to address these issues, and addressing them starts with calling them out, and Piers refuses to do that. He just wants to play on the heartstrings. He wants to talk about the total numbers instead of proportionality. It's not a good faith interview. It's not a good faith take. And he looks dumb. He looks genuinely dumb, like Nick said. Nick just ran circles around him. It was honestly sad to watch the old man, watch the boomer get he's just getting pounded on it. And it's like, come on, man. Make a better argument at least. Like, make it at least somewhat more entertaining as far as competition goes. It's entertaining how dumb you look. But let's get a little bit of competition in this debate. But that's going to be it for today. I'm Jared Wright. This is The Right Wing. If you like this content, make sure you hit the buttons down below. I said it before. I'm bringing it to you so it's easy. You can find it easy. You just come on the page and it's there. All of the news, all of the what's going on, all of the what did he say, she said, I'm bringing it all. I'm reacting to it. That way you can see it. You deserve to see it, and you deserve for it to be easy. That way you don't have to go find it. So I appreciate you being here, and I hope you have a great day.